Hey, are you ready to plug the number one profit leak in your business? On this episode of Profit with a Plan, we're joined by sales expert Nick Loise, founder of Sales Performance Team, who is here to reveal the often overlooked secrets to supercharging your sales process. We're talking about building a foolproof sales playbook that not only closes more deals, but also boosts your business's value when it's time to sell. So if you're ready to transform your sales team from a cost center to a profit driver, don't miss this conversation. Hey, entrepreneurs, are you ready to boost your profits and grow your business? Welcome to Profit with a Plan, where we share strategies to help you scale your company, increase your profitability, and set up for a future exit. I'm your host, Marcia Riner, a business growth strategist and the profit booster behind Infinite Profit. I've helped countless entrepreneurs to build highly profitable and sale ready businesses. That's more profits now and a bigger payout later on. By the way, today's episode is sponsored by Infinite Profit, where we don't just talk profit, we deliver it. If you're ready to take your business to the next level, check us out at infiniteprofitconsulting.com. Now, one more thing before we dive in, I've got something special for you. If you ever felt like you were doing everything right, but just not getting the traction you deserve, here's a secret tip. How about customer reviews that can be your secret weapon to attracting new clients and boosting trust? That's why I'm excited to share my new free growth and marketing audit at profitbooster.biz. In just one session, we'll show you how to turn those reviews into real growth. So, you ready to stand out? Visit profitbooster.biz and let's get started. All right, let's jump into today's episode. My guest today is Nick Loise. Nick is the founder of Sales Performance Team and a seasoned sales leader with deep expertise in helping small to mid-sized businesses enhance their marketing and sales systems. With a track record that includes leading sales teams, winning President Club awards, and teaching as an adjunct professor, Nick is recognized as the authority. He is also an author and speaker who's shared the stage with industry greats like Dan Kennedy and Russell Brunson. Nick's passion lies in creating actionable sales processes and playbooks that empower the businesses to drive real, sustainable growth. Welcome to Profit with Plan, Nick. I'm happy to have you on today.
Marcia, it is a joy and an honor to be here. What a long introduction. I got to cut that down. It's embarrassing. Sounds
It's
like my
not
mom
that
wrote
bad.
that. All these accolades out there. People don't really care, right? They just want to know how you can help them.
I
I really
know.
love the community that you've built. I think it's phenomenal. You've been doing this podcast for so long. You've been really focusing on, I think, the most important thing in business, and sometimes we don't talk about it enough. And I know you do too, is profit, right? Of driving profit, but also building up this asset that these entrepreneurs that we work with each and every day and love and really want the best for them because they're the drivers of our local communities. You're in Las Vegas, I'm in Chicago. There's big businesses, but really the small businesses, the localized businesses, under 100 million, and even the ones at 1 million and on up really drive the local economy. So it's my passion play, and I know it's your passion play. And so thank you for all that you do of talking about it, because we sometimes we get lost, right? We just get lost in the grind of business, and we're doing things, and then at the end of the year we look at our QuickBooks and we say, did I make any money? Right. And that's the wrong way to run a business, right? And the work you do really sets them apart, and such. I'm sure your clients, once they get done kind of opening up their kimono and dealing with the hurt, right? And then you kind of guide them through, and they're so much happier. And it really is their biggest asset, right? Sure, their houses are their asset, but their business is their asset. And for some, and I'm sure you find this too, it's their retirement, right? Their plan is to exit by selling this. And so, great work. Keep up waving the flag. You're doing great stuff.
Oh, thank you so much. Wow, I'm going to have you on every week because you just totally pitched me. That was fantastic. But But it's true, right? It's something that gets into my core, and I think that business owners absolutely need to plan for success because really we got into business for two reasons: to create a customer and to produce a profit.
Sure.
And if you're investing all this time, energy, effort, weekends, nights, savings, sweat, blood, tears, why not get something on the way out?
I mean, to me, if so, you mentioned I spent some time. I was at GKIC, Dan Kennedy's company, Glazer Kennedy Insider Circle, now owned by Russell Brunson Magnetic Marketing. But I think one of the unsung heroes in that environment was Bill Glazer, right? Who was the G in GKIC, and he had a statement that being an entrepreneur is the loneliest job on the planet. No, no. You can't, who do you go to? You can't go to your friends, right? Because they may not understand it. What do you mean you don't get a check every 2 weeks, right? And you probably, at times when it's tough, you don't want to talk to your spouse about it because you don't want to set up the red flag or the smoke signals. You're not talking to your employees. And so you really, so the work that you do in building this community, and there's a lot of other entrepreneur communities out there, which I think is great, but it is really, really lonely. And I remember Vern Harnish, who, scaling up in the Gazelle group, he created his organization because he had a dear friend, and they had a where they were talk all the time. They had a great conversation, and time went on and he didn't hear from this guy. And it turned out this guy killed himself, right? Because of the pressure of being an entrepreneur. And yeah, listen, there's 25% of the population struggles with mental health illnesses, but I think entrepreneurs have this undue pressure, right? We're the last one to get a check. We got to make sure there's profit. We got to make sure that we're taking care of our customers and our employees and our creditors. And,
And everybody until we hit us at the end, right?
everybody's got their hand out, right? And so the work that you do to help people kind of structure that, really is important. And I see it a lot of times too. And I got to talk to my clients a lot on the sales side because
That's
they're
the driver.
pricing themselves and they're not profitable, right? They're going to get the sale and they're leaving margin on the table, i.e.,
Ah,
profit on the table, or they're overexposed in one product line or one industry, or for some, we had a client that was overexposed by one customer who was
mm.
70+% of their business.
Ah,
And I said, I go, listen, you're going to hate me. And this is our first meeting, but you're not, you're not a business. You're a department of this
of this
business.
company.
Right. And he could
Well
downsize.
said.
Right. And sorry to be the bearer of bad news, but I think that's our roles that we
They
take
they
on
pay us
of,
for that bad news
right.
sometimes. They
They
pay us
pay us
for
for
things they don't want to
the, and
hear.
sometimes you got to chase them, but they pay us for this bad news. But it's really, they know it, but they just need somebody to tell them, right? They know, and I'm sure they come to you probably sheepishly, and they're like, okay, well, here's everything, and here's my desk drawer that I dumped into a banker's box of all of my, my checks and my receipts, and here's my QuickBooks, and you got to just put them on a plan, and I think we could wave the flag of, listen, it's a new day, it's a new dawn, right, in America, which is great. We're moving forward. But now, as small business owners, we got to be talking about profit, right? Um,
You have to. You really do. But when we're talking about profit, it's like in many businesses, it's out of the right pocket or out of the left pocket.
right,
It's
right,
still
right,
out of the back end of the business owner. But when you're thinking about what drives that profit, right?
right,
That's the sale because you're never going to have a customer if you cannot sell.
right,
And if you're just out there shooting with a shotgun, a pellet shotgun, and hoping to hit something, you're never going to have any kind of serious revenue or consistent, drivable, profitable money that comes into your company. So that's why I was really excited because you have this fantastic ability to put it all in a system
right,
that makes it easier, right? We've just sung the struggles of business, right? Business is
right.
hard,
So it's
but it
never
can be
easy,
easy.
right? It's
Er,
never easy to be in
er.
sales, right? Or to be a business owner or to do the selling of the business. So I don't, I hate the coaches out there that are like, oh, this is easy. You
Yeah, here's the
just
easy
use this
button.
magic script and everybody they're gonna fall over with their credit card. It's not gonna happen, right?
Nope.
And ironically, right before I got on this call, I was on a client training. I wasn't running it. One of their coaches was running it, but I was on. And you know, it's always puzzling to me when I have to go to business owners and say, you have to do sales every day, or somebody in the business has to do sales every day. And if you're not doing it, or somebody in the business isn't doing it, you're going to close the doors, right? And you as a business owner have to do revenue producing activities, right? RPAs, and or you have to hire salespeople, sales individuals, sales teams to do this for you.
Somebody.
Somebody's got to do
Somebody's
this.
got to do it
Somebody's got
every
to do it
day.
every day. And
Every
so,
day. And I love that. That's down to the just the basics of what it is. And so many people would rather, and I'm kind of one of those, go create a funnel or a
sure,
graphic or
it's
a
the fun
social
thing.
post or
Yeah, it's sexy. And so, it's interesting that you just brought that up because I came from the marketing world, the marketing education, the marketing and sales education. I had an agency, we sold it. I had investors and partners. And so after 6 years, people wanted to get their money out, churn, do something different. Fair enough. So then I went to a wonderful company by the name of GKIC. We don't have to talk about that. But what I learned was everybody loves marketing, right? It's fun, it's sexy. We watch the Super Bowl and we think we can make better ads, right? They
right.
get into it, they get into the copywriting, right? You and I were in our pre-show, we're talking about A/B testing, copywriting and headlines. That's fun. Sales is more hand-to-hand combat, right? You got to deal with objections, right? I got to put myself out there. They're going to say no. Now I got to come, boom, 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 boom. So what the company sales performance team really was a genesis from the work I did there. Because what we
Mhm.
realized is we could teach business owners and they got marketing. They knew how to drive leads into their business, right? And the work you do will help them drive leads into their business. Where they struggled when they were honest with us and honest with me is in hiring salespeople, but also setting salespeople up for success, right? Because
Mhm.
it's easy to hire salespeople, but they don't set them up for success. And so we took a step back and said, okay, got it. I myself was that person where I intuitively knew how to sell my product systems and my services and all that, but I hired salespeople. And now I had a contract with these salespeople, and I needed to make them successful. And so I had to break down how I sold stuff, right? And that's where we get into the process. So, what is your proven and repeatable sales process? You create that from your business. You have to create it and you have to adjust it and you have to means test it and you have to try it and you have to kind of scratch off that playbook every quarter or every half a year and take a look
Exactly.
at it and adjust it to what's going on in the marketplace. But now what you've done is you've created an asset for your business
Mhm.
because you've got a process and you've got a system and you got a sales playbook, right? That's why I'm passionate about doing this. Because somebody buying your business, doesn't matter how profitable you are, they're going to say, well, okay, who sells for you, right? How do customers get in the door? And if you say, well, I'm the owner, I do all the selling. No one's going to buy that business, right? Because I ain't buying the
Nope.
business. No, I'm now a salesperson I got to run my own business. And I got, ain't going to happen. So you've got to create a process and a system and a playbook for that. Now, the most important P that we're going to talk about is the people, right?
Mm.
And so if you have a really good system and a process, and you have a really good playbook, and there's a difference between the two, and you have people to drive it, and you're coaching them to success, well, now you've got a evergreen revenue producing machine in your business.
Yeah.
Now, many business owners, the ones that I deal with, right, it's tough to get top shelf A-level salespeople. You just can't afford it as a small business people. They want to sell for Oracle. They want to sell for Salesforce. They want to sell for Facebook, right? They want to sell, in systems and companies that there's the OTE is $3 million a year, and a small business just can't afford that. So what you have to do is
Because they're paid by going out and hunting and killing.
right, right, right. So you're going to get C-level players, but you're going to have a system and a process that will make them B-level players or maybe make them up to A-level players. And so that's why it is so critical. And we have the 5 Ps, right? So you've got the people, you've got the processes, you've got the playbook, you've got to manage their production on a daily basis. So what are they doing? Are they doing outbound phone calls? How many meetings are they doing? You've got to coach them up for success, right? So it's really driving the entirety of the system. And it's tough, right? It's tough as a business owner because you got to do all the other stuff
I was
too.
just gonna say,
Yeah.
when do they have time to do this?
They don't,
And
right? That's
how
why you got,
many of those real key business owners are the original salesperson that can actually reproduce a profitable plan that can go forward? They came into what I find in most early businesses is they come in and they've got this idea, oh, I can do this better. Maybe it's sales, maybe it's marketing, maybe it's founder creation, something else. And then they mistakenly wrap a business around it. They're not a salesperson or a sales team.
right, right,
Rarely do they have that skill set.
right. And sometimes they just have kind of intuitively figured out how to sell stuff, right?
Exactly.
And so now the problem, and you just hit on something mission critical, is they can't articulate how they just intuitively know how to do this
Exactly.
to the
It's up
salespeople. And
here.
that,
I got
yeah,
it, right? The recipe's here.
yeah. I could wake you up as this owner of this business at 3 o'clock in the morning and say, sell me, and you will, right? You just will
Right.
go into muscle memory. And so what we say is we kind of sit down and we translate and extrapolate everything that you have in the owner of how you sell stuff and why you sell stuff and create that process so that
Mm,
we then could teach it or you could teach it to salespeople.
right.
Or sometimes you have people that have never sold before, but they maybe have a personality that you think will reside well with your prospects and your clients. And so
Mhm.
you're going to give them a chance to be the salesperson, but you got to set them up for success. So I
Absolutely.
firmly believe that, yes, if you think about the number one cost in any business is the cost of lost sales, right? So we're going to help plug that hole of the number one cost in a business. And if you
And before we do this though,
go ahead,
you know, I don't think business owners today really focus on that number of the lost sales.
yeah,
When any kind of salesperson comes in or conversation comes in, well, what's your conversion? Oh, well, I've got a 20% conversion.
yeah,
Good or bad, that's a number, but they're not talking about the 80% that they
right,
lost.
80 plus,
80
right?
plus
So,
or what to and I think that's the missing gap is you're not looking at what you're leaving on the floor on the table, the stack of business cards you never got to, the all the stuff that got left, and you're only focusing on the wins instead of the losses.
well, it's tangible, right? So we could put our hands around it. So we understand why we focus on that. Two is, you know, I think it's no one wants to talk about the negative, right? I think we just saw that, in light of that. So talking about the negative of saying, okay, great, you were at a 20% conversion rate, close rate, whatever phraseology you use in your business, which is neither here nor there. What about tell me about the other 80%? Nobody does that follow question, right? Tell me a little bit
Exactly.
about why did deals get lost, right?
Mhm.
Why did you not win those deals? Was it that they went to a competitor? Well, then that could be certainly a we're missing certain features and benefits for our products. Our pricing may be off. Maybe it was a message the market match, right? Or
Right.
most deals though get lost to no decision, right?
Mm.
And therefore we didn't do a strong enough discovery job of really finding out what their pain is. And listen, business is just really a list of problems, right? And money exchanges hand when the value of solving that problem is greater than the money I have to pay for that problem, right? And
Exactly.
so if you're like, okay, let's talk about how we solve for X, right? And the investment for solving for X is Y, an X plus Y should give you Z in some level of, found revenue or found profit or operational excellence or whatever that is. And so you have to have those conversations with people. But I agree, nobody talks about the lost sale. and the number one cost of lost sale. And it's just quick to say, okay, yeah, we got 20% conversion rate.
Whoops. Next.
Yeah, fine.
Next.
No, move on. No, it's the next thing we look at, and it's like, well, no, that's just the number on a KPR chart, right? But why are we losing 80% of the deals, right? And what does that look like? And if we raise our prices, do we stay at a 20% conversion rate? But now we're speaking your language. We just put 20% profit into the bottom line or 10% profit in the bottom line, right? So what can we do if 20% is our number? Can we get that up to 25 or 27 or 30? Or can we keep it at 20, but can we charge more? And now we've
Exactly.
got, I don't care. I just want to get money into the bottom line of the business. And
Right.
so you have to think about it in totality. And we geek out on it, right? We love it. It's what we do
I
every
love it.
day.
You love it. That's why this
Yeah.
is such a
But
fun
the business owner goes
conversation.
back to, he's spinning 28 plates, right? He's wearing all these different hats
Yes.
and he's just happy that they got 20% because it could be worse. It could be 15%, right? And so he or
Exactly.
she, I don't judge them, right? I want to help them, right? And so that's why I do these type of things. That's why I love having these, just stimulating conversations with you, Marcia, and the work you do at Infinite Profit, and the cool stuff you're doing with Profit Boosters, so there's just so much stuff out there and as a business owner, listen, they get sold to all the time,
Yeah.
right? Everybody's promising them X. And I myself have a fair amount of investments in marketing ideas and systems that
You
just
and me both.
I
There's
got a
this.
whiteboard. I keep it there. Every time I think I'm smart, I put it on the whiteboard and say, great, that was another $5,000 that I'm sunk, right? That I'm never going to get back. Yes, it's a test. Yes, I've learned. Yes, we've tried. But, listen, you and I are talking, and as we're recording this podcast, and maybe it's a half hour, maybe it's 45 minutes. I can guarantee you that I'm going to go to my inbox. They're probably all going to be in my spam, but I'm going to have 5 emails from people that are going to get me. They found problems with my website. They could get me to the top of Google. They're bumping up the last thing. I got one person that I'm on somebody's automated email list of saying, I will clean your offices for you. Well, great, but my home office doesn't need to be cleaned because the cleaning ladies come once a week, right? But that person is wasting time, energy, and effort and dealing with
Yes.
his, deliverability issues because of the fact that he keeps on sending me or she is sending me emails. And so we've all wasted money and it's usually about on the top of the funnel, right? Getting
Mhm.
things into the top of the funnel. Where I'm saying you make your investment is the middle to the bottom of the funnel. Take
Exactly.
a portion of the stuff on the top of the funnel and focus on systems and processes and something to get that middle of the funnel and that bottom of that funnel converting better and better and better. And that will
I
take,
love
you to the next level.
I love it. So we've got ideas on how we can do that, right?
Yep.
And so when we're talking about a playbook and we're trying to get the business owner to make sure that their team has a repeatable process that leads them for success, what are some of the successful ideas that we can do in that middle of the funnel that will improve going from 20% conversion to 25, 27?
Yeah, so there's a lot of things, right? And the first thing we always like to say is we like to start with an audit, right? So let's look at what you're doing and let's audit what you're doing and let's then take you
Find the
against
gaps.
all the best practices that we have instilled or that we work with or that our partners have created, right? So we have the best practice audit that we like to do, and I'm sure you do the same thing. And it's like, okay, here's the top, and you can't give them a list of here's 3,482 things that you need to fix.
Ah!
Because no one's going to fix that, right? And they're going to be
Right.
like, okay, yeah, right. They're going to kick you out of their office. So, what I'd like to say is here's the top 10 things you need to do, right? And some of it could be as simple as, like we were talking about in the beginning, you wrote a killer headline. So, some of it could be messaging, right? Some of it could just be messaging. Some of it, and I think a lot of the waste is, we're not targeting the right ICP, right? Ideal customer profile or avatar or something of
Yeah,
that nature.
the cleaning
Yeah.
lady that's calling you to
Right,
clean your
right. So
office
I'm just
when
not
it's
the
in your
right, it doesn't
house.
mean I'm not a good business owner. I'm a good business owner. Well, I think I am, but I'm not a good product, not a good target audience for her
Not
product,
for
not a
her.
good prospect. So that's the first thing. A lot of times we see the wrong targeting or the wrong messaging to the wrong targeting, right? So there's that. The next thing we look at a lot of times is I'm a firm believer that the best fiction that is ever written in this world is not the book that you and I pick up and read. It is the pipeline of every salesperson out there because they have so much fiction in it of
Ugh,
deals that are never going to close that it is the best story I've ever heard in my life, right? I
yes.
remember we took over a client, I took over a client, and every salesperson was going to have a banner month. Banner month. It was our first month with them. Their pipelines were bursting. They were all going to close. Not a deal came in, right? And so I'm like, okay, well, here we're done with that. We're done with everybody projecting that they're going to have $100,000 in pipeline because I'm not running this up the flagpole anymore, right? So you got to get deep and have deep conversations and hear what they
Reality.
are saying. And is it factual or is it story? Well, I talked to Jim and he said, blah, blah, blah. That's a story. Tell me what is going on. Tell me why they're making this decision. Tell me what their pain points are. Why are they looking at us vis-a-vis everybody else, right? Because if we think that they're not looking at other people, we are lying to ourselves, right?
Exactly.
And so,
We're not the only company in
right.
town.
So get deep on the pipeline, clear out all the mess, and just focus on, really targeting your audience, really targeting your ICP, understanding your pain points and how you solve for those pain points for the individualized prospects, and then
Mhm.
look at the fiction in your pipeline and clean out all of that pipeline. And
All the
then from
garbage in is
there,
garbage out.
yeah, get the garbage out. Then from there, it is like you got to talk about the production, right? And it's not just the production of business owners, as you and I started talking about in a little bit, but it's the production of sales teams, right?
Mhm.
Because if you have a very aggressive inbound marketing system, salespeople are notoriously lazy. And we are always going to take the inbound lead, which we should, right? But there's a lot of stuff that has to be touched in our follow-up systems. And so you have to fix that. And you have to fix the production, right? And then the best way to do all of this and really get them up. So if they're at 20%, you want to get them to 23 or 25%. You got to listen to their calls and you got to coach them, right? You got to say, okay, here's what's going on. Before I got on the client call, I snuck in a really quick call review. Now, really, the front end and the back end of the call is the most important part, right? The middle is kind of where it is, right? So how do they set up the call and then how do they close the call? And so I
Mhm.
just did a real quick thing and then I recorded a recording. Hey, I just wanted to get this to you. You're doing great. You're wonderful. Lake Wobegon, we're all wonderful. But here's some things you didn't do in the front that you need to do. And here's some things you didn't do at the end that you need to do. And let's go deep on this in our next one-on-one. And I want to, just understand and let's coach you up. So that's the most important things that you could do as the business owner or hire a sales manager or sales coach or somebody to work with your team for that.
Love it. Wow. So you just took us through most of the pipeline,
Yeah, I
right?
went through pretty fast. Yeah, yeah.
You hit us with where you're finding the leads to
Yeah,
the messaging, to the offer, to the way you're talking to them. But really, if I understand sales the way I understand sales, um, most of the selling is done in the beginning.
sure.
It's
Yeah.
just the objections is getting the close, right?
Mhm,
So
mhm.
understanding in that discovery phase what their problems are. Does my product match with the needs that they have? And again, does that problem have more trouble to them than it's worth writing that check for, right? It's
Right.
I think that's where the strength of sales really truly comes in on the front end. And the back end is just making sure I'm checking all the boxes and that, Mr. Smith, are you ready to, drive this yellow car home today? Kind of thing, right?
Well, I think you're spot on. I think so. Listen, the bulk of the sales is really in the discovery part of it.
Thank
And
you.
most discovery is done superficially, right?
Yeah.
Versus really going deep on that. And I like to say, ABC, which everybody thinks is always be closing. I'm more always be curious, right?
Ah,
And it's
I like that.
always about Tell me more about that. What's going on with that? And I think like you're a great podcast host. You're phenomenal. Your questions are great. You're engaging, and that's what you should be as a salesperson. You should be engaging in your questions. And I could tell you're actively listening, right? And I think when I review calls, I see salespeople, and listen, when I interview them, part of the interview process is they do a mock sales call. And like some of these people can't even sell their way out of a wet bag, right? And so it's really is okay. Tell me more about that. What's going on with that? Why are you doing that? Okay, I got that this is a problem in your business. So are you on a secret mission, or is this really an initiative of the organization to fix, right? And so who has to make the decision? Yes, I know everybody's the only decision maker, but somebody else has to be part of the decision making process. Tell me what that looks like. How does that sound? Walk me through where you want to go. And some businesses, not all, but some businesses, their salespeople will just allow the prospect to run all over them and just tell them a story. And you got to have control of that. You know,
Thinking they're having a great sales
they
meeting
get all
because
there.
they made
We
a
had a great
friend, right?
conversation. We bonded. We talked about this. We had rapport. But no, you're never going to get anything, right? I listen to this. You're like, that deal's never going to close. I remember we had one client. The sales guy. He knew everything, right? He came from every blah blah blah. Sends me a call. He's like, "What do you think? So the person's never going to close." I bet you $1,000 that person will never close. I go, because you didn't ask the right questions, right? And you talked about yourself for the first 20 minutes, right? So they were like checked out by 22 minutes in, and you thought it was a great call. I said, I hate to
Because you're
burst your
talking about
bubble.
yourself.
Yeah, yeah, yeah. I hate to burst your bubble, but that person's never going to close. I'll put $1,000 and I'll pay you 3 to 1, And so sometimes you need an honest broker, an honest ombudsman to kind of listen through things and say, okay, here's the 4 things you did great, but here's the 17 things you did wrong, right? And it doesn't mean that you're bad at what your profession is. It just means that you just need to be coached, right? Because we're sitting here right now and we're recording this at the end of the week. This weekend is going to be college football. Well, the college football team isn't just going to show up on Saturday without having reviewed game film from the week before, reviewed game film of who they're playing, looked over the playbook and all that stuff, and ran drills and ran practice. But salespeople who think they're, yeah, right, they
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 get on
just
the
get
phone.
into it. It's just they don't do any practice. They don't even do any research, anything like that. I hear them start asking questions that a 30-second Google search would have answered a lot of these questions, right? And so me as the prospect, I'm saying, really? You're asking me like, don't you have LinkedIn? Don't you have Google? On your, am I, so let's not be lazy in the sales process. Let's do all the appropriate things. And then that we could focus really on the really good discovery, right? Take all the waste out of your discovery of the crappy ass questions that you ask, right? Get really, really deep on that. If you want to verify some of the stuff that you've done, that's great ahead of time. And people will love that saying, okay, boom, let me ask these questions just for verification. This is what I found. This is, they're going to say, this guy's done his job. I remember,
Right. So
right? I
now the
remember
respect comes in.
I worked with somebody once, and he was a lawyer by training, right? And he never I don't think he passed the bar, but just never really practiced. He was phenomenal at his discovery because of that,
Mm.
right? And he was phenomenal at his re, uh, pre-call research because of that. And this guy knew everything. And he was like, wow. I'm like, wow. I'm like, I learned a lot from being on a sales call or two and talking to that guy because he just had it down. And we, as salespeople, think, oh, well, I'm a people person
I'll
and
wing it.
people like me, and I could kind of snowball my way through it. Listen, prospects see you coming a mile away, right? Business owners have all been there, done that, right? They see you coming a mile away. So show some respect for your prospect by doing that work ahead of time.
So I love this, Nick, because this is such detail that is missed every time because
Sure.
again when the cat's away the mice will play, right?
Right, right,
And if you
right.
don't have somebody that's looking over their shoulder, they're going to choose the easy route and not do the things that they need to do, even though, which kind of surprises me because salespeople are driven by commission and the challenge and the competition that usually goes on in sales rooms, why aren't these people driving to do more, for the most part? Is it because as small business owners, we've got the C and D level sales teams on, and in order to get the A, I have to, mortgage my house and give away my firstborn? Um,
I, I think that's part of it, in all fairness, right? I think that's a portion of it. I think that your salespeople are probably hitting their top of their income setting, right? So
mm,
now they've become comfortable,
mm,
right? And so you got a sales guy or gal, and they're set for they need $6,000 in take home every month, right?
and they're
You
making.
watch, that's what they're going to produce. They may produce 10 one month, but then they'll reset down and set to 4 or 5 the month after, right? Because that's their number. So now
Mm,
you have to be a coach and a psychiatrist and work on their head and say, okay, here's some of the things I'm noticing, right? I'm noticing that 6 is your number, right? And if that's your number and that's where you feel comfortable and you don't want to put any more effort in, that's fine. But I've got goals that I want to achieve as a business owner. And so that means I got to bring another person in. Not that I'm going to get rid of you, but that realize that we're going to have to, I need more, right? And because
right.
I just can't have you producing 60,000, if they're commission, let's just use the 10% commission, 60,000 of revenue gets them their 6, right? Plus because you got taxes and all that. So I can't have you producing 75,000 a month, right? Because I can't, I want to hit 5.2 million this year, right? So what does that look like and how many people do I need to get to at this quota containment, right? At this production containment gets me to my number. So there's a lot of different aspects that kind of go into play that you as, really as a business owner aren't going to have the time. That's why they work with folks like you and they folks like me just to kind of get into detail, even it's just to kind of look under the hood. And I intuitively could figure out the problem really, really, really quick, right? Just because but I want to test it, right? So I'm like,
Sure.
okay, I think this is the issue, but let's look at I want to go deeper on some data so we can figure out what's going on. We worked with a client once and they were big. They were about 25, 27 million, but they couldn't grow. And so we
Mm,
looked at it and we're like, well, you're only producing 80% of your revenue from 3 states, right? And so either something's going on with your marketing, something's going on with this, your territory disbursement of your salespeople, but it's really only coming from three distinct geographical areas. Or your messaging isn't playing in New York, right? Or your messaging isn't playing somewhere. So we just need to adjust some marketing and some inbound leads because they are a national company. So
mhm.
there's always really cool things. The data will point you to where you need to go.
Oh, exactly.
Yeah.
But you know what the problem is, and where they're killing their profit is that they don't have time to look at this.
Yes,
They're
yes.
the number one part of the engine or the engine itself for the car is the sales team.
Yeah,
Hopefully that's not you, business owner, but if it is, you're part of that team. But
right.
you've got to make them optimal. You've got to get them running with clean fuel. You've got to get them, driving in the right direction and producing the things that they need to do because that's what's driving the delivery of the business. And as we mentioned, there's so many different hats to wear, the marketing, the accounting, the sales, the delivery of the service, the relationship of the service afterwards, the production, the product, whatever. I mean, there's so many different parts of it, but it's the leader of that is the sales. Because if you don't have sales, you got too much product. If you have too much sales, well, then you can build more product to sell, right?
Yeah,
And I think it's just something that gets overlooked and not the attention to detail doesn't come in. And I think, as you mentioned, by lifting up the hood, you can see where the profit killers are and what little tweaks you can make to improve it.
yeah.
And the business owner's too busy to see that
Well, I think the
in
business
most
owner,
cases.
I think they are, right? And there's also like constraints that they can't see because they've been walking over the constraint for 20 years of business, right?
They got the
And
blinders on,
yeah,
right?
they got blinders on. There's constraint there. There's also something we used to see it on the marketing side of the business, and I'm sure you see this too, is The owner goes away, maybe goes to a seminar or an event, right? And they come back, right? And they have, you know what? This is the greatest thing in the world. We're going to implement this. Well, the staff could be like, yeah, well, he does this every quarter. And
The
if we just
change.
wait this out a little bit, right? So you're in the change management business too, but a lot of times we don't have the skills to have the change management. And as entrepreneurs, we're very comfortable with change. Small business
Mhm.
owners, we're very comfortable with change because we kind of deal on that razor's edge at all times. But the staff doesn't like it or want it, right? And it means to them, well, I've been doing my job X, right? I cut the cucumbers this way every day. And now you want me to cut them this way. And I don't want to cut them this way because I know if I cut them this way, it doesn't make them bad people, it doesn't make them bad employees. We just have to kind of give them the why of why we're doing that. And I think that's part of it, right? With the entrepreneur and the business owner, when they've decided that they want to make a change, they've thought about it, right? They've sit in it and they marinated in it for a while.
Yeah, the
But
airplane ride home. It's
right,
it's
they're
it's
right, but they've
all
never
the creation is
right,
occurred.
right, right. But they also don't give the employee the reason why they're going to do that and how their lives may be better, right? May not be, but may be better
Right.
by doing X, Y, and Z. So, it's the totality of it and the system of it. And I think as a business owner, we ourselves have to realize that though we're comfortable with change, sometimes our employees aren't. And either you get new employees, right, which in this day and age sometimes is difficult to do, right?
Right.
Or you have to realize that I need to bring them along. And some of it's going to be kicking and screaming, right? But then some of it's going to be they're going to see that their life is that much better. But it's
Right.
fascinating. Business never disappoints in how it's fascinating every day.
Exactly. That's why you and I are in the consulting
Yeah, that's
side
why
and the
we do what we
support
do,
side
right? And
because
I
it's
love
always
what I
ever
mean. I know
changing and
you
going,
love,
and we
yeah.
love that.
Yeah, it's just fun. It's just fun.
I
Like
love
every
it. I
day,
love it.
it's like, okay, what is today going to bring when talking to new clients or talking to my existing clients or trying to help people achieve
Hmm.
their life dreams, which is to have a profitable business, where we started and where we're going to end up, that is driving the income, providing for my family, providing for my employees' family. I do believe every business owner wants to have a great engine that is servicing their community, servicing their employees, servicing their families, but
Exactly.
also is going to fund my retirement, right? When I sell. Because it's not if, it's when, right? We're all got that date on our minds circled. We all want to do it. And
Yikes.
so I want you to have the best retirement for you and your spouse and your family. And I want all your kids to go to private schools. And I want you to have the car of your dreams. And that only comes through the profit of your business.
And profit is driven through sales. So
Yep.
that's
The circle of
fantastic
life.
bow tie you put on it, Nick.
Yep. Yep. Yep.
So listeners, I know you found some really good ideas, but Nick, where can listeners find out more about the sales performance team and how to really improve their sales so they can have everything you just beautifully packaged for them, the
Yeah.
life of their dreams, the entrepreneurial life of their dreams, driven by the sales team.
Well, they can find us online. We're easy, salesperformanceteam.com. They could send me an email, nick@salesperformanceteam.com. I'm on LinkedIn, right? I'm on Facebook, Nick or Nicholas Loise. I don't know what name I go by. Loise. I'm pretty easy to find, right? For your listeners, and really, we really want to make it as easy as possible. And so what we're big on is a lot of different audits and checklists, right? We've talked a little bit about that. So we've created some easy audits, right? So one of them is here are the top 88 things that every high performing sales team does. We've created I wrote a book, a couple different books, but for your folks, we've created a little package and just go to sales pack. That's sales pack salesperformanceteam.com. I'm sure they'll be in the show notes, right? And so this has got to give you everything that you need to kind of say, here's how I kind of look under the hood. If you don't want to do it, you don't want to, you kind of got what we do and think we might help, just pick up the phone or send me an email. We could have a quick conversation. And then from there, we could do our detailed audit for you, which provides you with more information than you need to know, but we'll focus on getting you in the right direction. And directionally, we will help get you to where you want to go.
I love it. The top 88 things. That's telling
Top
you something.
88 things. I should have done like 12 more to be top 100, but they're
I
going to remember
like the
88.
88.
Right?
8
They're
is
gonna
a
remember.
perfect number. It's my
Yeah,
infinite symbol
yeah,
on its side, so it's a
yeah,
perfect number.
yeah.
But if you think about it, the sales engine is more like a transmission, right? There's that commercial on TV that says there's like 1,000 parts to your transmission, right? And that's what the sales piece is there's 1,000 or 88 pieces or 100 pieces to that can be tweaked slightly. We're not talking throw it out and start again, but
Sure.
just little tweaks and movements that you can do to improve
Yeah.
what you're doing so you get better results, create the company of your dreams, provide for your family and community, and have everything that you got into business for, right? And I love it. So I'm gonna
Well,
go get my
we're big theory of constraint folks, right? That's what we do. Where's the yours is where the constraint of the profit, right? Where's your profit being constrained? We're on where's the
go.
constraint in your sales process, right? And some of it could be your people, some of it could be your process, some of it could be your playbook, some of it most likely is in your production and your pipeline. Right. So it's in one of those categories. We're going to help you get there, or what we provide for you with the sales pack will help you at least be able to kind of do some self-diagnosis. Because I think you instilled it correctly, Marcia. It is like a transmission, right? There's 1,000 parts. And it's not that you have to rebuild the entire transmission, but maybe you got three parts, right? And you got to replace those three parts or adjust those three parts or maneuver those three parts. So now you're ready to go another 250,000 miles.
Right. Love it. Love it. Okay. This has been fantastic. Listeners, I hope you found a couple of items and insights and actionable ideas to help you make your business more profitable. And I know, as we've said over and over throughout this episode, is that the sales is the engine, the driver, the transmission, I guess now that we're saying, that makes the car, your business run. And so I would encourage you to go get Nick's download, learn what's doing, try some things yourself, reach out to Nick, get some help, and that's going to be your best path because we're here for business. We're here to grow, we're here to make money and take care of those around us. So go do that as you are. So, as I mentioned earlier, if you're doing everything right but it's just not getting the traction you deserve, it might be time to transform your customer reviews into attracting new clients and boosting trust. Go grab my free growth and marketing audit at profitbooster.biz. Just in one session, we'll show you how to turn those reviews into real growth. And don't forget to subscribe. You don't want to miss future shows. You can always catch Profit with a Plan on any of your favorite podcast players. And we're looking forward to more great profitable strategies on next week's show. So until then, make your plans and profit with them. Thanks so much, Nick. This was a fantastic conversation that could have gone on for 3 days.
Love it. Love it.